Thank you, Chairman. I am Michiaki Kai from Japan. I'm a radiation protection expert. I'm working after the Fukushima accident is many things. And today I'm talking about some lessons and issues about the radiation protection. And in Japan, radiation protection expert has lost trust because many reasons that I want to talk about why. And first slide, this map already shown Professor Hayano, and left side April 2011, and the right side is March 2013. This measurement area survey, using area survey. And the red color is much higher than 19 microsievert per hour or higher than maybe a decade due to the cesium other natural phenomena. And now in Fukushima, it seems to me that there is a little confusion, like the year of 2011. 2011 is almost emergency phase, and transition to existing exposure situation and makes some emerging new issues we have never experienced radiation protection. In my presentation, let me summarize the current issue to be challenged. And the first one is socio-economic consequences of daily lives as well as psychological effect. In particular, disaster deaths, disaster-related deaths of elderly people is more than 1,500 people died. This is a big problem, I think. Second is a concern about low dose risk. They are amplified among the population. You know, the international organization like WHO reported assessment of health effect from the accident. However, now it is not easy to mitigate public concern. Public is feeling unrelieved now. Third one is recovery management. Now rehabilitation was moved toward in no way as expected. In my presentation, let me say the 3 key issues. One is knowing radiological protection philosophy. In particular, gap between the experts and the radiation protection ICRP message. And the second one, the community involvement, radiological protection. This message from ICRP publication 111, important message. Third one is disseminating good science. As you know, in the emergency phase in Japan, many expert scientists, academic people say something, and many confusing. But important thing is disseminating good science, I think. This is point of my presentation. First, ICRP recommended radiological protection system, and depending on exposure situation, emergency, existing, planned exposure situation. In Fukushima, emergency situation, more than 20 millisievert per year, evacuation countermeasure is taken. And previous speaker, Mr. Sato, is talking about the contamination. Now is less than 20 millisievert, long-term goal and 1 millisievert. The another criteria and food restriction in Japan targeted less than 1 millisievert. but much different ICLP system and the food restrictions, very much different. First, I talk about evacuation. In emergency phase, evacuation was taken in the zone within the 20 kilometers from the accident site. However, Itate village were evacuated exceptional case. This slide shows within the 20 kilometer zone evacuation area. This is immediately after the accident, evacuations taken. But 2 months after, Itate village, other some village, these people they evacuated. This we call the deliberate evacuation. This is exceptional case. And Itate is a symbolic village as an evacuation, called a deliberate evacuation. This Itate resident faced the dilemma of leaving village or not during 2 months. This experience, Itate village people has impact credibility of authority and relation protection expert. Evacuation criteria was 50 millisievert in Japan until the Fukushima accident. However, the Japanese government decided 20 millisievert in a year was adopted according to ICLP to 103 recommendation system. New adopted criteria 20 millisievert per year created considerable confusion. The meaning of the rationale of the 20 millisievert behind were not clear for the authority and the affected people. This is one issue. This slide a brief history of taken main radiological protection for rehabilitation. December 2011, government announced reactor was stabilized. And January 2012, the contamination program started, previous speaker talked about. And the target to the area, more than 0.23 microsievert per year, many people interested in number, equivalent to 1 millisievert. And April 2012, new food restriction came into effect, assuming limitation 1 millisievert per year. This criteria, based on the WHO Codex, is proposing 1 millisievert. Previously, actually, a recommendation that interventional exemption level. And April 2012, overall review of evacuation zone was carried out. Next, looking at the food restriction, commercial food restriction. A new limitation was applied from April to 2012. When determining this criterion limitation, there were heated debate at national level about what is safe level in food restriction since July 2011. Main focus on the consumer's concern below those levels. Finally, government decided 100 becquerel per kilogram linked with 1 millisievert, which was based on the intervention exemption level codex the guideline is using. But different codex guideline activity concentration much different. When government side decided this, there was a conflict between the Food Safety Commission and the Radiation Council. Food Safety Commission is mainly composed of toxicologists, and the Radiation Council is mainly a radiation protection expert. Seemingly, Food Safety Commission adopted chemical strategy, like a threshold approach, equivalent to about 100 millisievert. Conflict among relevant stakeholders not taken into account. This is the second issue. Next is the contamination. Most big program recovery management is the contamination of the land. Government, Minister of Environment, some set criteria for the contamination. Many people are interested in this number. 0.23 microsievert. Dose rate include a background dose rate, 0.04 microsievert per hour. There is no designated goal to decontamination, only target area investigation. First time, but people believed this target goal, and the affected residents seem to prefer 1 millisievert per year. Other problem is lack of waste repository. This issue is talking about Mr. Sato. I will show you the ICRP recommendation. There's a low reference level recommended ICRP. Those about reference level are not advisable to be exceeded. Below the reference level, exposure should be optimized. This figure, figure publication 111, the evolution of the distribution of the individual dose with time. In Fukushima side, reference level is interpreted as a goal. 20 millisievert per year is supposed to be maintained. In this situation, nobody explained meaning and the load of reference level. This is third issue. Another issue is expert credibility for myself. After the Fukushima accident, some experts emphasize that no effect less than 100 millisievert has been proved. This message is slightly different from ICRP. ICRP touched the low dose area. This number 103, paragraph 60, 266, this message. Talking about radiological protection, some experts say public people does not understand risk is quite low. This is a problem, I think. However, ICRP emphasizes participation of relevant stakeholder is important. No matter whatever is risk is low. The main reason of some confusing after the accident is expert credibility. I think. Building and maintaining trust of experts are essential facet. So I would like to remind you of three pillars of religion protection. In particular, take a look at values, social, ethical values, important pillar, other than science and experience. This slide shows three differences. First, difference between science and value ethics-based judgment. Second is between the intervention level and the reference level. Third is difference between planned existing exposure situation. Three difference between them. I see the gap between the current situation in Japan and the ICRP message. There are some issues when authority and the expert try to apply the ICRP recommendation to recovery. People felt that authority made a law as a makeshift because there were no rules and about the recovery phase from the nuclear accident until 2011. No rule before the accident. Some non-radiation risk analysis says there is no agreement about existing exposure situation. I summarize the issue to be challenged. 2 points. 2 points are science and ethics. Expert try to mitigate his concern. Some message less than 100 millisievert is no effect occur. This is try to mitigate the health concern from. Some expert try to enlarge health effect. And people are much concerned. The focus on the risk for me, lead affected people in bind. Experts failed find a way to discuss about tolerability of risk and risk comparison. I think failed. How to talk about scientific knowledge and on risk. This is an issue, new issue. I think ICRP should reach out to inform the public about radiation risk. Ethical issue. Ethical issue. Dialogue with the public is important. And the involvement, stakeholder, other health professional in radiation protection. This is involvement important. And to discuss, disseminate the ethical, social value that embody into the system of protection. This is important thing. This photograph shows the ICRP dialogue in Fukushima. ICRP takes ongoing dialogue with stakeholders in affected area. First dialogue in November 2011, and counted the sixth dialogue, July 2013. This ICRP dialogue, the latest ICRP dialogue makes a clear gap between the elderly people, the younger people. In particular, Iitate village, evacuee. Iitate village now, in this map, you can see the current dose rate in the Iitate village. 3 zone, prepared zone for lifting evacuation, less than 20 millisievert, zone for limiting residence, more than 20 millisievert, difficult to return zone, more than 50 millisievert. Green color is almost 20 less than 20 millisievert. A small part of the village is difficult return zone, more than 50 millisievert. In this situation, Iitate village, elderly people hope to return as soon as possible. But younger people, younger family people hope to keep new living condition. Doesn't want to come back to village. Whether to return or not is up to each individual. Any choice has to be respected. ICRP dialogue message, importance to create as soon as possible. It's a condition for elderly people to make their own decision concerning whether or not to return to Iitate. This is the ICRP message from dialogue. Finally, I would like to conclude my presentation. ICRP's system seems to work. However, problem in implementing the system, in particular, meaning of reference level, the role of a reference level. Second, failure in community involvement in radiological protection issues, conducting a better rehabilitation. Second issue is knowing radiological protection philosophy. I see the gap between the radiological protection community and outside scientific people, academic people, big gap. Radiological protection experts need to communicate with experts other than other field, like chemical and other field. And ethics is essential to go beyond scientific uncertainty. Finally, I think much important, disseminating good science about radiation risk, and particularly low dose risk from internal exposure, low dose rate exposure. Second one, the ICRP is responsible for dissemination for different message other than from UNSCARE and WHO. Thank you very much.